Welcome back. In India, the rape of a young woman on a bus last December sent shockwaves through the country. The victim died from her injuries, and women and men took to the streets of Delhi to voice their anger. Since then, the authorities have taken steps to try to address their concerns. An Indian fast-track court found the accused guilty and sentenced them to death. And a dedicated helpline has been set up for women. As part of our 100 Women series, Rupa Jha in Delhi asks how much things have really changed.
For many women in Delhi, the sound of sirens at night is a reassuring one. In the aftermath of the rape last year, there was a lot of anger directed at the police for their handling of the case. Now, they are keen to show they are taking women's safety seriously. They have stepped up their evening patrols, and there are more police on the streets. More women are now coming forward to report attacks against them, and not just in Delhi. 500 kilometers outside the capital, I went to meet a victim. It took Reshma 15 years of constant abuse before she decided she had to report it. She's pregnant with her 6th child. She's still recovering from a violent attack by her husband.
This should not happen to anyone. I have 5 daughters. My husband wanted a son. So this time he insisted that I have an abortion if it's a girl. I didn't want to. So he got very angry and threw acid on me, aiming at my vagina. I thought enough is enough. I felt like a dead woman when I left his house. I realized it's important to speak up. This will save many girls in the future.
Her husband is currently in prison and awaiting trial. He denies the allegations against him.
There's been a veil of secrecy around the issue of violence against women in India, both out on the streets and in the home. But now, there seems to be a slight change in attitude. Many women are finding courage to speak out. The code of silence, which has existed for so long, appears to be slowly breaking down.
Back in Delhi, women carry on with their lives. But have things changed for them?
I travel by bus, but I carry my pepper spray everywhere, and men are very aggressive, like they're really aggressive.
You know, change happens from within, so it's not me trying to change somebody else, but if I try to change myself from within, that's how the change will happen, and that's how it has to happen with every individual.
What was the use of all those demonstrations, people coming out on the street, you know, being vocal about their opinion, about girl safety? Nothing changed after that.
India is continuing to have the conversation about crimes against women. And it's women themselves who are taking the lead in this discussion. They know violence will not completely go away. But they won't be silenced anymore. Rupa Jha, BBC News, Delhi.
And Priya Nanda is a group director at the International Centre for Research on Women in Delhi, and she joins us now. Thank you for being with us here on GMT. In her report, Rupa talked about the code of silence, she called it, breaking down. Is that how you see it?
I think there is a change. I think December 16th was a watershed point. We know that there was almost, for at least a short time, there was a revolution on the streets in Delhi and elsewhere. And even after that, subsequent to that, there has been a lot more reporting of incidents of sexual violence, not only from Delhi and big metropolis, but also from small cities and even rural areas in India. So I think people are speaking out. Of course, there is a culture of silence that surrounds a lot of the vocabulary and how things are camouflaged when we talk about sex, sexuality, sexual violence. But I think there is a change. People are beginning to speak. For instance, the very fact that women are coming out and talking about something kind of challenging the notion that there is stigma surrounding sexual violence, coming out and speaking about it, and not accepting that this is a crime, this is an insult to their modesty or honor, but in fact challenging this and suggesting that it's actually a crime against their bodily integrity. And you see the shift in vocabulary, not only in the amount of noise, but also the nuance in which we are talking about it.
Well, you say, women are talking more about it, but what that report that we've just seen shows so graphically and hideously is that, well, we need to get men talking about this. We need to perhaps start educating men.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. And we at ICRW clearly believe in and work with men and boys. We have a lot of programs, especially transformative programs that are working with young boys in schools, what we call gender equity movement in schools, because we believe that you have to start challenging norms. Firstly, creating a new acceptable norm around gender equality, and then challenging gender violence, challenging norms around inequalities. And that change has to begin very early at it has to begin in schools, because that's an entry point, but also has to happen in conversations at home and in communities. So definitely, I think engaging with men and boys is very important. We have a study recently conducted in Delhi which showed that that about 78% of men have perpetrated some kind of sexual violence in public spaces or witnessed it, but only 15% actually intervened.
All right. Well, sorry to interrupt you. Thank you for your time. We have to leave it there. Priya Nanda there from the International Centre for Research on Women in Delhi, and she was suggested as a guest by our guest editor, Cherie Blair. And we'll be speaking to Cherie about her work in a few minutes.